Hey, Rickon, how you doing? Sound okay? I had problems with it earlier. Well, not with here, but elsewhere, because I don't know if the microphone's back on. Hi, Owen. Hey, Bruce. Oh, I've decided. Hi, Koji. Oh, thanks too for letting me know. What happened was that this morning I had my microphone all plugged in and everything, and then later I went to talk to somebody else, but I had unplugged it and put it in my headset, and apparently my mic thing didn't change, and so it kept thinking it was coming out of here when it wasn't. So now it's all set. Good. Howdy from Texas, and Joseph, and Orange Hand, and Watch and Pray, and Chrono Unique, Tim, and Manchester by the Sea. One of these days it's going to be Manchester in the Sea. I'm just kidding, Tim. You're safe. Hey, Clyde, how you doing, man? Oh, boy. One of my howdy from Texas. One of my neighbors is down there now in Texas visiting relatives there. So it is so hot here. It's like 90 something degrees. Ugh. Hi, watch him. Oh wait, pray. Okie doke. This is some of the things I've been thinking about since this morning. We're in a seller's market, okay? So it for a long time I've been thinking, I've got a bunch of watches that I'm not wearing anymore, and they're sort of like uh not doing so hot. And I thought, well, I like to sell them, but what happened? I had sort of a bad experience initially with selling watches I didn't want anymore. One I had to sell because I was getting a present for my wife, and the only way I could afford it was sell trade in one of my watches. In both of those cases, I just took a drubbing, to put it lightly. And then I just sold one on Chrono 24, and it was okay. It was sort of weird, to tell you the truth, because I had these, strange things would happen. Some people would come up and they would say, they'd give you like, oh, I'll give you a couple $100 or something really ridiculous for a watch that was around $6,000-7,000. So that was, it was kind of thing. But I finally had a guy. He was squared away, and we made a deal and so forth. But it was more hassle than I realized. But I sold the watch, and it did a little better and stuff. But then when I bought my last watch, I got it on an auction. First time I ever bought a watch on an auction. Usually I back out and run away when the bidding gets too high. This time, though, I was lucky. Basically, the bids, the one I wanted initially, I put a bid in for it, and then somebody outbid me, and then I outbid them, and then they outbid me again, and that was it. I mean, and so I saw another one like it, and I got it instead. Worked out pretty well. So yeah, Raj. So anyway, so I was thinking, well, this would be a good time to sell watches, and instead of thinking about what I'm going to get next, is what I'm going to sell next. This is a seller's market, and so you might do pretty well. So I'm going to try one selling through an auction. The thing I like about an auction for selling is, especially now in a seller's market, people get a little crazy. They they really start upping the bid, and so I put it up to this one major auction company, and they had to do all kinds of analysis to see if it was okay, it's kind of what they could make money from, and they decided decisively it was. And so I'll tell you what happens with that one. But But the important thing about it is that this seems to be a good time to sell, and maybe a time to sort of step back and sort of either try to find a new place, a new hunting ground, so to speak, or to just sort of sit it out for a while, and you know, just just wait until you have some watch money all piled up there, and wait until things settle down. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking about. Hey, Junior, how's it going? Thomas, how are you? Uh, by the way, too, punters, Bruce and Thomas, you guys got a 5 o'clock thing for the punters, the watch punters, going to be on today. This is something that's a fun group too. There's another live stream. They were on Sunday, but they got a change on that. Hey, Donald, sit it out and wait for either an uneducated or motivated seller. You couldn't have put it better, uh, Clyde. Sit it out and wait for either some newbie to come along and whoop, you know, or someone who's desperate to get rid of his watch and needs the money. Oh yeah, that's what's to. I always seem to miss watches more after I sell them. Yeah, sometimes that can happen. This is I've not run into that so yet. Um, and there were some watches I really, really liked a lot, wore a lot. Um, and then when I traded them or sold them, I didn't miss them. And so that's another thing you got to be careful about. I traded one watch that I don't know. Uh, it's hard to say. I resented that watch, and I shouldn't have. But the watch I got, I guess I like a lot. It's hard to say. Hey, Val, how you doing? Selling hyped watches ain't that easy as a private seller. Yeah, private seller, as a private seller, selling on Chrono 24 is not easy, and at least it wasn't for me. It took a while. I just waited and until I got something that was realistic. This one guy, he and I came to he had an offer. I gave him a counter offer, and he disappeared. So I mean, it's like okay, he's gone. I sold my watch. Um, that's sort of a weird thing. Right now, if I were a watch seller, had some kind of business selling watches, I'd be desperate to get stock because it's drying up. And that's why I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll try an auction. you know, the guys at auctions aren't dummies. In fact, I think if you're going to go the auction route at all, the thing to do is to make sure, what the prices are, because people will go nuts, like I said. Um, Highly recommended the Watch Talk with the Punters. Yeah. Sub if you haven't already. Great content and guest. Especially the guest, I think, Howdy from Texas. Hermes watches the best new watches for price. Tim, I agree with you. Tim's got a good point. Hermes is one of those watches that is misviewed as a fashion watch. When you buy a quarter of one of the top watchmaking companies in the world, at least Vasseur, you're not this fashion watch. A lot of fashion watches, they used to be, they were cheap quartz watches with somebody's logo on them. And that would be, I think, someone goes to Macy's or someplace like that and picks up a cheap watch, and it's got I don't know. I don't exactly look like someone who knows their labels. Dior, let's say. Actually, Dior's got some very interesting looking watches, and that's another story, though. Okay, so let's see. Any reason for the sudden uptick in the watch market and luxury market in general, specifically when the world markets aren't fully recovered yet? Yeah, I think, Howdy, for one thing about watches, um, that's something you can do in a lockdown, okay? And so I think a lot of time people, what are you gonna do? I don't know. I'll buy a watch. And what happened at the same time that was happening, the production was almost zero because of the pandemic. And so you have, and now people are starting to come out. Um, and so I think this is sort of generating more like, oh boy, got my job back and I can go out and buy a watch. Either that or a lot of people weren't spending money. Usually my wife and I would, go on a cruise once a year, and that's certainly a pretty good price of a good watch. And so we didn't do that this year. We're not going to do it. We didn't do it last year. We're not going to do it this year. We're going to probably wait till 2022 in the fall. And but the rest of the world, man, there's some places. I was talking to this gal from Peru today, and she was telling us, she said, man, things are a real mess down there. And so it's, that's still going on. uh I think it's almost an inflationary hedge now. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Clyde said that some of the buying a watch, if you buy a watch, if while the dollar or whatever currency may go down and inflation increases, the the watch is your boat. So I don't know. Hey, Mark, how you doing, man? Hey, Forbin, watches are up, used car values are up, and house prices are crazy. We are on top of something volatile. Notice that I didn't say bubble. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I tell you, it's these things. Here's what's totally unpredictable about it. I don't care how good a predictor a person is or thinks they are. We haven't had a pandemic like this at least ever. And I'm an old guy. Okay. They had one about 100 years ago, but nothing like this. I mean, they've got what, 600,000 people in the United States have died, and God knows what it is. I mean, in India right now is going through a terrible thing. South America, Brazil in particular, is having a rough time. So, we're this is not like anything we've seen before. Um, Cruise watch. Yeah, cruise watch. Yeah, didn't get my cruise. I'll get a watch. Hey, Roar. In the eyes of some, luxury watches have become a commodity to speculate. I think you're probably right. I think you and I think Clyde was making a similar point. Is you need a Rolex Cellini? Huh? I need a Rolex Cellini like a fish needs a bicycle. How's that? I got a Cellini. You know, of all of the sort of dress watches, I don't know about a Cellini. The Rolex I like, I keep liking more and more, but I'm not sure what I do. It was Air King with the Bloodhound dial. Love that watch. That's another thing too. Um, One thing I've been thinking more and more and arguing with people about the silicon in watches. I don't like it in these luxury watches. I don't. And there was for years there's been a Patek Philippe that I wanted, a particular Gondolo, and I finally got to the place where I could, had enough that I could go ahead and get it. But I found out that it was they put silicon in it. I thought, the heck with it, I don't want it. Uh, so I don't know. Are you telling me there's nothing in the catalog? Oh, there's always something in the catalog. By the way, here's a watch, a couple of watches that I've been watching. Uh, First of all, one of the things that's sort of interesting, and we talked about this somewhat this morning, is that some really cool watches with ETA-based movements in them. Now, these are watches by guys who are really true watchmakers, and they wanted to have something that was affordable. And so what they did is that they put in an interesting complication into the watch. My Metropolitan turned out to have an ETA base. I think I'm pretty sure it's an ETA base but it was really done up a lot. And so there's some other ones that I sort of been thinking about. Vincent Calabrese, Antoine Prezuzio, and then Roger Dubuis and Daniel Roth. All of these guys, though, especially Roth and Dubuis, people have been snatching those things up left and right. And so, you get one the next day, you find out that it's gone up $1,000, and this is weird. Okay, here's a watch that I talked about a long time ago, and a watch movement that I found sort of interesting, and it's at a pretty good price. I think right now you can get them even new for right around 5,000. I know that's not cheap, but it's not crazy. And that is a Chanel J12 H5697. That's the one with the Kinesi movement in it, which is Kinesi is this company that is a watchmaking company that is co-owned by oh God. Okay. Chanel and Tudor, and somebody else is coming into it. I forgot who else was buying into that, but that's sort of an interesting thing. Hey, Robert D, how you doing? Um, Peter Speak Marin. That's another one. Very good point. So these are some other places that you can sort of fish around that where you have watches identified as luxury watches, such as Chanel, but Chanel sort of turned a corner somewhere, and they're in cahoots with Tudor, and they're putting up a new factory outside of Geneva, and half of it they're going to have like two wings, and one will be Tudor, and the other one will be Chanel. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, that's just another place to look. Now, another place and I sort of was talking about a little this morning was getting your mitts on a good movement. I got a Vaucher movement from a guy bought a bunch of them, and I bought one of the ones that he bought, and that's another thing that you can do. Thanks, Diesel Power. You got that. What's the best watch available under 25,000? Hey, Healer 74, how you doing, man? The best watch under 25,000. Boy. Well, let me put it this way. Okay. I think for the MSRP price, it would be an H. Moser. That's my opinion. Okay. And this would be a brand new one, MSRP price. For that much, there are a lot of different watches. I think another one too is Parmigiani. These two companies still both of them have great watches. They're still a little underappreciated. And I think that H. Moser is making some moves in the right direction. That would be right at 25,000. If you can find one, it would be what was it? No, I was going to say FP Journe. You can't get that. I think that is the list price on certain things. Urban Jurgensen, yes, that right. There's on a great deal right now, and they're almost out of them if they're not totally out. These are the ones that they had at Federico at Del Rey Watches. They had these Urban Jurgensens that were almost at half price, and that was an incredibly good deal. And they were about at half price. They were about $20,000. Some of them a little more than that. So, I'm never buying a Chanel. I don't care what's inside. Maybe a gift for Mrs. R. Rick, I tell you, if I could, one of my very favorite watches is one that they make, and they have a Chanel one movement in them, and Gaultier was involved in creating that movement. It's with a jumping hour. It's a beautiful watch. Um, that one you ought to take a look at and see if you still think that. Rickard watches. Yeah, J12. Okay, I can sort of see that, but I sort of like the J12. Robert D. Moser Streamliner. Moser Streamliner. One of them is under 25. One of them isn't. The one with the Agenor movement's not. The green one is. That I think is right around 20,000, something like that. Hey, Joseph. Tennessee, G. Lang and Hine. Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. I couldn't agree more. I would say the Frederick 3 and the Frederick 2 both. Friedrich. Yes, Joseph, I agree. Good point. Uh, Geo-Panamatic Lunar. Yeah, that's a nice watch, too. Arnhem Strom. Yes, that's another good one. Is that 125? That gravity force equal, Joseph? See, watches lost opportunity. If Chanel ever made a watch with a movement number 5, they're dealing with number 1 right now. I'd say most of the new Tudor releases are great value at MSRP. You know, Clyde, you're the second really bright person who has said that today. It was less than an hour ago. I got some that said exactly the same thing, and I'll post them up on High Horology Lounge when we're finished here. That's really amazing. It was just a very, very um, well-known and respected watch collector I know who had said exactly the same thing. The best deal right now on a new at MSRP would be a Tudor. I agree with that. There's a lot of Brigade that could be had for under 25. Yeah, I really like the Brigade tradition, but the thing about it, I'm really getting my head twisted around the whole thing about the silicon. This one, I said something about silicon, something went wrong with it, you couldn't repair it, or you couldn't adjust it. And someone said, well, they don't need adjustment. Mean that they're perfect, they never break. Wait until you hit one and the brittleness doesn't quite hold up. Um, I don't want to get into that, but that has become sort of my bugaboo. I mean, you pay more for a watch than your car. You ought to you ought to have something that they can figure out how to do it without. I mean, that's like putting sawdust in the transmission. Okay, ceramic or the Panda, yeah. Careful about Brigade service costs. Yeah, there's that too. But here's what do you do if you have a silicon spring and escapement? Okay, something goes wrong with it. You can't adjust it. You can't take it down to my 85-year-old watchmaker and say, can you adjust this? You can't do it. What you got to do is you got to take it in, take it out, throw it away, put a new one in. Now, you'd think, well, heck, that ought to be pretty simple. And it may be. It may be very simple. Just replace one with the other. Um, and but of course, they're not going to let you do that. Say, hey, would you mind sending a few of these to my watchmaker? Here in Connecticut. I don't know. The Tudor Chrono with the BO1. You guys in your chronographs, put it that way. I really like the new Panda dial Parmigiani Tonda chronograph and the complete calendar. Yeah, I like those too. I'm really not into chronographs, especially with 3 dials. I don't know, too much for my little brain to handle. Roger Smith, PSM, Jack Forster, and a host of others not crazy about silicon. Yeah, I know. It's not. I'm not alone in this. Believe me. I think that on the other hand, though, if people want to get that, that's fine. There's a difference between This is something I think that's important in watchmaking or watch collection. Things, whatever you have as, this is what you think is important and what you don't think is important in watch collection. That's fine. It doesn't, there's a difference between proselytizing and simply liking something. And I think that's helpful. My friend Blue Shirt is here. He is here. He is everywhere. Okay. Tudor Panda only has 2 dials, does it? Okay, well, that sounds more reasonable. I mean, something with what was I looking at? Yeah, the other day I was talking about the Aquanaut. They have a little Aquanaut chronograph, and I like it because it's just like it's got the 2 little subdials, and it's a lot. If whatever you use a a chronograph, if somebody kept a diary of their days with a watch after, let's say, after having a watch for a month, how often do they use a chronograph? If they use it a lot, then yeah, that makes sense. Otherwise, they're trying to figure out which dial. I am probably, yeah, but see, that's just sort of my own idiosyncrasy, and that disagree. That most people don't see things that way, and they shouldn't. They like chronographs. They like anything they want. Okay. Tudor Panda only has 2 dials, so there. If you want value for money, get a German or Japanese watch. I say that as a Swiss. Um, I think there are gyms and all kinds of things. Well, what I'd like to see is some wise guy, Japanese or Chinese or Malaysian or some guy who says, like, here's a better way I can do this, and puts out a neat watch. A watch that I really like that came out recently. See, I can remember. I think it's from Hermes. Thing was called the H08. That one, remember that one? And it just came out, recently. It's sort of like a little square watch. Man, that thing sold out, bam, just like that. And I'm trying to think what the movement was. They had one of their in-house movements with it, which means it was made by Vaucher, which means it was pretty good movement. Chrono sundials allow for subdials allow for fun color palettes. Yeah, 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 yeah. I like the ones that have some. They use the colors well. I agree with that. Um, most wise guys are. The new Piaget Polo Honda limited edition is worth every dollar. You know, Healer 74. I think the Piaget Polo is one that is overlooked, Panda or otherwise. I really like the Piaget Polo. I just like it, and regardless of how much it looks like a Nautilus or not. HOH, that's the one. Yeah, Rick on watches. Cretan steel oxidizes too because it is useful. Okay, Mark, thanks. Hey, 73 Math, evening to you too. Diesel power, Italian American, big difference. Okay. Yeah, listen, you guys be careful about how you talk about Italians around me. Connecticut has more Italians than any other state per capita. So we have we have Italians. Um, our governor, our mayor, a lot of our elected politicians are Italian. Let's see. A watch made of Polish submarines too would have portholes. Corbin, none of that. Now we got to watch that stuff. Uh, Philippe Dufour almost said as if you want a good watch, get a German. Oh, he didn't say that. He likes German watches. I think he likes Japanese watches too. Let's see what's going on here. I'm Italian, by the way. Well, with a name like Diesel Power, everybody assumed that already. Okay, what site has Glasudi's original best prices? I don't know. That's a good question, Bill. So keep your garage locked. That's why Connecticut is corrupt. Oh my goodness, my goodness. This is coming from Massachusetts, the home of Whitey Bulger. Let's see, it's true. Most of us don't need a stinking stopwatch complication. It's the aesthetic. Yeah. Uh, if people like them, so what? I mean, like having a monoretra pawn, to me, that's almost a funny watch. I mean, the idea, it's like uh, sort of a zen of one hand clapping. That's funny. Uh, I married an Italian girl from New Haven. Yeah, see, there you go. Bill, let's see. I'm in San Jose. San Jose. I mean, darn. Nomos is what FD praised. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that's the one they asked what was the best watch under $10,000, and uh, Philippe Dufour said it's a Nomos. Hey Owen, what's up? Let me see. Glacier in your 70s chronographs is my grail. Okay. Okay, guys. Uh-oh. Uh you guys who are on frying pan duty let me down. So anyhow, yeah, LNS Datograph. That would be that is one of the best watches around, I think. Okay, guys, gotta run. And thank you all for coming. Thanks, Koji. You guys got it finally. Better late than never. Take care and have a good weekend.